Here's what's happening and why it matters. Donald Trump says he'll slap tariffs of up to 130% on Chinese imports. That number isn't just big, it's game-changing. At 130%, you're not nudging trade. You're building a wall. And with that, the global trade war just came roaring back. Let's decode the headline. According to CNN Business and related reporting, the plan is to massively raise duties on Chinese goods. The precise scope: what products, what start date, and which exemptions usually arrives through a U.S. Trade Representative notice and a Federal Register filing. Until that lands, think of this as a high-level blueprint, an intent to make Chinese imports dramatically more expensive, fast. How does a 130% tariff actually work? Imagine a $100 landed cost for a gadget imported from China. Add 130% and the duty alone is $130. Your cost becomes $230 before shipping to stores and adding retail margins. On many items, that's effectively a ban. Sellers either eat huge losses, jack up prices, or stop importing. That's why this isn't just a tax on them. It's a price shock for us. Tariff effects you'll feel first. Consumer prices, electronics, PC parts, phone accessories, small appliances, tools, toys, and fast fashion are still heavily China-sourced. Expect price tags to rise as retailers pass through 50 to 100% of the added costs once current inventory runs out. Inflation. A broad 130% hike is inflationary. It can push up CPI in goods categories and could influence interest rate expectations and market volatility. Small businesses. Amazon, eBay, Shopify sellers leaning on China for private label products face a margin wipeout. Some will pivot to Vietnam, India, or Mexico. Others will exit categories entirely, EVs and clean tech. If the duty hits batteries, cells, or solar modules, expect higher sticker prices and slower adoption. If it's targeted at finished EVs but not components, the effect narrows but still bites jobs and investment. Tariffs can shield domestic producers' steel, aluminum, solar, EV assembly, and nudge new factories home nearshoring or reshoring. But they also raise input costs for U.S. manufacturers still dependent on Chinese parts, which can delay hiring or CACs. Why call this a war? Because it's about leverage. One side fires tariffs, the other side hits back. In 2018-2019, China retaliated against U.S. farm goods and industry and deployed non-tariff roadblocks like slower customs clearance and sudden inspections. Expect a familiar playbook: counter tariffs, focused on U.S. agriculture and brands with China exposure, export restrictions on strategic inputs: graphite, gallium, germanium, rare earth processing that can choke Western supply chains even if final assembly happens outside China. Administrative pressure, data reviews, cybersecurity probes, and regulatory delays that make life harder for U.S. firms in China. The tech angle matters too. NVIDIA is front and center in the broader U.S.-China economic contest because of export controls on advanced AI chips. Tariffs and export bans are different tools. They compound the same pressure. Slow China's access to cutting-edge tech while pushing supply chains to diversify. For chip makers, device brands, and cloud providers, the risk is a two-front squeeze: harder to sell into China and more expensive to source from it. Will companies just move production? Sort of. Expect China plus one strategies, shifting capacity to Vietnam, Malaysia, India, or Mexico. But customs is already tightening rules of origin. Simple relabel and ship won't cut it. Anti-circumvention investigations are rising. De minimize, rethink. E-commerce parcels under $800, popular with ultra-fast fashion and gadget sites, could face new scrutiny to close loopholes. Dual supply chains, parallel setups for China and the West to navigate tariffs. Export controls and data rules, more redundancy. Higher costs. What's the legal path? Historically, Section 301 of the Trade Act is the lever for tariffs in response to unfair practices. The rollout often looks like this. USTR publishes product lists and rates. There's a start date, sometimes 30 to 60 days out, and an exclusion process lets importers petition for relief if there's no alternative supply. Lawsuits at the U.S. Court of International Trade can challenge the process. And WTO disputes are likely, but neither reliably blocks tariffs in the short run. Winners and losers in Trade War 2.0. Potential winners: U.S. steel, aluminum mills, some solar module makers, EV assemblers with non-Chinese battery supply, domestic producers of appliances, tools, or electronics accessories if they can scale quickly. Potential losers: big box retailers and import-heavy brands, small online sellers, consumers facing higher prices. U.S. farmers if China retaliates, manufacturers reliant on Chinese inputs they can't replace overnight. 3 scenarios to watch. Broad sweep. a near universal 130% tariff on most Chinese goods. Expect rapid price hikes, tough retaliation. They're in a scramble to enforce anti-circumvention at the ports. Sector targeted. 130% on EVs. Lower advanced tech or steal lower rates elsewhere. Pain is concentrated but still inflationary in targeted categories. Headline number: many carve-outs. Politics loves a big number. Exemptions can quietly blunt the impact. The real story lives in the product list and the exclusion approvals. Market signals, stocks, retail, Negotiarius, industrials swing first. Look for guidance about price increases and sourcing pivots. FX and commodities, watch the yuan CNY, copper, aluminum, and freight rates. Any hint of countermeasures moves them. Bond market, a tariff-driven. Inflation bump can shift rate expectations. Messaging from the Fed will matter. Why this matters to you? Buying tech or tools soon? Prices could jump once the tariff clock starts. If you've been eyeing a laptop upgrade or a cordless drill set, timing may save real money. Running a small brand? Audit your SKS for China exposure. Ask suppliers for non-China quotes and prepare a transparent price increase plan. Monitor for an exclusion process and be ready to file. Big picture. This is less about revenue and more about power, economic security, technology leadership, and strategic independence. Tariffs are the blunt instrument. Supply chain rewiring is the long game. What to watch next? The official notice, product list. Codes, effective dates, and any comment window exemptions. Does USTR revive a broad exclusion process? That's the lifeline for parts with no quick alternative. China's counter, tariff lists, export curbs, or regulatory slowdowns, especially around strategic minerals and farm goods. Enforcement. Customs guidance on rules of origin and anti-circumvention crackdowns at the ports. Bottom line. A 130% tariff is less a speed bump and more a barricade. If broad, it reignites the trade war with higher prices for households and tougher choices for businesses, while potentially boosting protected industries and speeding up nearshoring. If narrow and packed with carve-outs, the headline will be louder than the hit, but targeted categories will still feel it. I'll keep tracking official filings and credible coverage so you get signal without the noise. Subscribe to be part of my channel and help us to complete 1,000 subscribers. In the comments, tell me broad wall or targeted strike, what's the smarter move and why?